Chosen one, why do you feel like God forgot your name? Why does it seem like everyone else gets their breakthrough while you're still waiting in the shadows? Why does your faithfulness feel invisible when the world rewards the loudest voices? Stop, right there. What if I told you that today, this very day, you did something so powerful, so earth-shaking, that heaven itself pressed pause? What if every angel in glory leaned forward because of one tiny thing you did? Something so small, you probably forgot it the moment it happened. Here's the shocking truth they don't want you to know. God doesn't measure your impact by the size of your stage. He measures it by the faithfulness of your heart in the hidden moments when no one else is watching. Today, chosen one, you whispered a prayer when your throat felt dry with doubt. You turned away from a temptation that promised relief. You chose kindness when cruelty would have been easier. You held your tongue when anger begged you to speak. You kept believing when your circumstances screamed, "Give up." You thought it was nothing. You brushed past that moment like dust on your shoulder. But heaven did not brush past it. God saw, and he laughed not at you, but because of you. The victorious, thunderous laughter of the Almighty echoing through the corridors of eternity, because his child just proved that light still conquers darkness in this broken world. That microscopic seed of obedience you planted in secret. It didn't fall on empty ground. It landed in the fertile soil of God's eternal purposes. And right now, angels are watering it with liquid gold, while demons flee from its growing light. You think you're weak? Heaven sees a warrior. You think you're forgotten? Your name is written in the palm of his hand. You think your small acts don't matter? Hell trembles every time you choose righteousness in the secret place. Before we dive deeper into this sacred mystery, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let the Spirit move through your faithfulness. But right now, if you can feel heaven's laughter rumbling in your chest, if something deep in your spirit is stirring with recognition, I need you to do something prophetic. Comment 777 below. This isn't superstition. This is spiritual alignment. 7 represents divine completion, and when you write 777, you're declaring that you receive the fullness of God's joy over your hidden obedience. Chosen one, heaven is still laughing in victory because of you, and what I'm about to reveal will show you exactly why your smallest acts of faith are reshaping eternity itself. Do you have any idea what you've actually done today? Do you realize the earthquake you just triggered in the spiritual realm? Do you understand that what you dismissed as insignificant has heaven's entire attention right now? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. While you've been beating yourself up for not doing enough, for not being enough, for feeling like your life doesn't matter, God has been collecting every microscopic act of your obedience like precious diamonds. You thought you planted a tiny seed. Heaven saw you break ground for an eternal forest. The enemy has been whispering the same lie in your ear for decades. You're too small to make a difference. Your prayers are too weak. Your faithfulness goes unnoticed. Nobody cares what you do in secret. But that's exactly what hell fears most. Your hidden obedience that no human eye witnesses, but every angel records. Today, when you chose to forgive instead of harbor bitterness, you didn't just heal your own heart. You released a wave of mercy that's traveling through your bloodline right now, breaking chains of unforgiveness that have held your family captive for 3 generations. That grandmother who couldn't let go of past hurts. That uncle who died angry at the world. Your act of forgiveness today just set them free in ways you'll never comprehend until eternity. When you whispered that prayer through tears at 3 a.m., thinking God wasn't listening, you didn't just cry into empty darkness. Your broken words pierced straight through heaven's throne room and mobilized an army of angels. Right now, someone across the country is being protected from an accident because of your midnight intercession. A teenager in Chicago is choosing life over suicide because your prayer created a shield of hope around them. The prophet Jeremiah understood this mystery when he declared in chapter 17, verses 7 and 8, "Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes, its leaves are always green." You see that tree, chosen one? That's you. Your roots aren't visible to the naked eye, but they're stretching deeper and wider than you ever imagined. Every secret prayer, every hidden sacrifice, every moment you chose God's way over the world's way, those are roots growing toward the eternal stream. And from those invisible roots, fruit is growing that will feed generations you'll never meet. But here's what's going to shatter your understanding of impact forever. That single word of encouragement you spoke to the cashier at the grocery store today. She was contemplating ending her life tonight. Your smile, your "God bless you," your simple human kindness became the voice of heaven, telling her she matters. 30 years from now, she'll become a missionary who leads thousands to Christ, all because you planted one seed of love in a moment you've already forgotten. The temptation you resisted today, that moment when compromise whispered sweet lies and you said, "No," in the secret place of your heart you just broke a demonic stronghold that's been attacking your lineage for 70 years. Your great-grandchildren will walk in freedom because you stood firm when no one was watching. They'll never know why certain generational curses skipped their generation, but heaven knows. It was because you planted a seed of righteousness in the soil of spiritual warfare. You keep looking at your life through human glasses, measuring your worth by worldly standards. You count your failures, your limitations, your age, your circumstances. But God is counting something entirely different. He's counting seeds. And every seed you've planted in faith, hope, and love is multiplying at compound interest in the kingdom of heaven. Here's the truth that will revolutionize how you see your existence. You don't see the forest because you're still looking at individual trees. While you focus on the one seed you held in your trembling hand, God's already watching the harvest that seed will produce for the next 1,000 years. That teenager you'll never meet will choose purity, because your faithfulness created an atmosphere of holiness. That broken marriage will be restored because your prayers for your own relationship released healing over theirs. That businessman will choose integrity over profit because your example of honesty echoes through realms of influence you can't imagine. You think you're planting small seeds in insignificant moments. God sees you establishing forests that will provide shade for future generations, orchards that will feed the hungry, gardens that will heal the sick. Your seed doesn't just matter. Your seed is changing the spiritual climate of this entire nation. But I need you to understand the urgency of this moment. Seeds have seasons. There are divine windows when the soil is prepared, when the spiritual atmosphere is ripe, when heaven's rain is about to fall. This is your planting season, chosen one. Not next month, not next year, today. Right now, in this very moment you're hearing my voice. Every second you hesitate is a second that seed could be growing. Every moment you doubt is a moment that harvest could be developing. The enemy knows that if you fully grasp the power of your hidden obedience, if you truly understand that your smallest acts create the largest ripples, you'll become unstoppable in the kingdom of God. You see a seed. God already sees the harvest. You see a moment. God sees a movement. You see yourself. God sees the multitudes who will be touched by your faithfulness. If you've planted even one seed of faith today, if you've whispered one prayer, shown one kindness, resisted one temptation, believed one promise, declare it now in the comments. My seed matters. Don't let the enemy convince you otherwise. Your seed is already growing in soil you can't see, watered by grace you can't measure, destined for a harvest that will astound you. But what happens when that seed finally breaks through the ground and the world sees what heaven has been growing in secret? You woke up this morning feeling like just another forgotten face in a world that celebrates the young and discards the wise. You shuffled to your kitchen, poured your coffee and thought nobody was watching your quiet struggle with that nagging temptation that's haunted you for decades. But you were wrong, chosen one, dead wrong. The moment you whispered no to that familiar darkness, when you turned away from the computer screen, when you chose forgiveness over bitterness, when you resisted that pill that promised escape, all of heaven erupted in thunderous applause. What felt like weakness to you registered as warfare in the unseen realm. You think your battles don't matter because they happen in silence. Let me tell you something that will shatter that lie forever. The fiercest wars in human history weren't fought on bloody battlefields with tanks and artillery. They were fought in the wilderness, in prison cells, in hospital rooms, and yes, in your very own kitchen at 3 a.m. when you chose prayer over panic. Remember Jesus in the wilderness? 40 days of fasting, 40 nights of silence, and then the enemy came with his trinity of temptations. Turn stones to bread, jump from the temple, bow down and worship me. 3 simple suggestions that could have derailed the salvation of mankind. But Jesus said no 3 times, and with each refusal, he was waging the most important war in cosmic history. Your no today carried that same spiritual DNA. When you're 75 years old and arthritis screams through your joints, when the loneliness feels like it might suffocate you, when that old addiction whispers your name in the darkness, that's not just personal struggle. That's frontline combat in a war most people can't even see. You may feel frail, tired, forgotten by a world that worships youth, but your resistance today sent shockwaves through the kingdom of darkness. The enemy doesn't waste his ammunition on nobodies. He doesn't deploy his most sophisticated strategies against people who pose no threat. But you've been in his crosshairs for decades because he knows what you carry. Every gray hair on your head represents wisdom that terrifies hell. Every wrinkle tells the story of battles won through faith. Every slow step you take carries the weight of someone who's learned to walk with God through fire. 2 Timothy 2:22 declares it plainly: flee from youthful lusts and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. Notice Paul didn't say flee from elderly lusts. He said youthful lusts, because at any age, the flesh wars against the spirit. Your 80-year-old battle with temptation carries the same eternal significance as David's fight with Goliath. Here's what breaks my heart. You've been conditioned to see your struggles as failure when heaven sees them as victory. That moment when you almost gave in but didn't, that wasn't weakness, that was warfare. That split second when you chose God's way over your way. Angels recorded it. Demons scattered. The Father smiled. You want to know why the battle feels so intense at your age? Because you're closer to the finish line. The enemy knows his time with you is running out, so he's throwing everything he's got at you. But here's the secret he doesn't want you to discover. Your proximity to eternity gives you access to power that younger believers don't possess. You've walked with God long enough to know his voice from the counterfeits. You've been tested enough times to recognize the enemy's playbook. That depression that visits you at 4 a.m., that's not just brain chemistry, that's spiritual assault. That loneliness that makes you question if anyone cares, that's not just empty nest syndrome, that's strategic warfare designed to make you forget your worth. That physical pain that makes you wonder if God has abandoned you, that's not just aging, that's hell trying to convince you that your best days are behind you. But every morning you choose to get up, every time you resist the whisper to give up, every moment you declare, "Yet will I trust him," you're not just surviving, you're conquering. You're proving that the weapons of warfare are not carnal but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. The kitchen, where you wrestled with that familiar temptation, that became Mount Carmel, where fire fell from heaven. The hospital room where you chose faith over fear, that became your burning bush encounter. The lonely evening when you picked up your Bible instead of that bottle, that became your Jordan River crossing into new territory. Stop minimizing the magnitude of your hidden victories. Every temptation resisted is not weakness, it is warfare. Every choice for righteousness is not just personal growth, it is spiritual conquest. Every time you stand when everything in you wants to fall, You're not just enduring, you're enforcing heaven's will on earth. Your silent "no" today echoed louder in the spirit realm than any stadium full of people shouting yes to compromise. Your whispered prayer carried more power than any megaphone declaring defeat. Your choice to trust God when everything looked hopeless shook foundations in places you'll never see until eternity. Right now, I need you to do something that will mark this moment forever. In the comments below, write these 3 words: I stand free. Not tomorrow when you feel stronger. Not next week when the battle seems easier. Right now. Because those 3 words are not just a comment, they're a declaration of war against every force that has tried to convince you that your struggles define you. When you write, I stand free, you're not lying about your current condition. You're prophesying your eternal position. You're declaring that no matter how fierce the battle gets, your victory is already secured in the blood of the Lamb. The war you won today in secret is about to become the testimony that saves someone else tomorrow. Are you ready to let the world know what happens when a chosen one refuses to surrender? You know that moment, don't you? 3 in the morning. The house is silent. Your spouse is sleeping beside you, unaware that you're wide awake, staring at the ceiling with a heart so heavy it feels like it might crack your ribs open. And you whisper, barely audible, your lips moving in the darkness like a secret conversation with the invisible God you're not even sure is listening anymore. Lord, I don't know if you're there, but if you are, please. You think that prayer died in the stale air of your bedroom. You think it evaporated like morning dew, meaningless and forgotten. But beloved, what if I told you that whisper just shattered the sound barrier between earth and heaven? What if that prayer you thought was too weak, too small, too broken? What if it hit the throne room of God like thunder? Listen to me carefully. Prayer is not measured by volume, it's measured by sincerity. When Hannah stood in the temple, her lips moved but no sound came out. The priest thought she was drunk, but God heard every silent syllable. And from that whispered prayer came Samuel, a prophet, who would anoint kings and reshape nations. Your midnight whispers aren't falling into a void, dear one. They're arrows. Silent, invisible arrows that pierce through dimensions, cut through atmospheric resistance, and lodge themselves directly into the heart of the Almighty. But here's what breaks my heart. How many of you have stopped whispering? How many nights have you laid there in pain, in worry, in desperation, and thought, what's the point? My prayers don't work. If God was going to answer, He would have by now. That's the biggest lie the enemy has ever told you. Daniel prayed for 21 days. 21 days of silence from heaven. No answer, no sign, no breakthrough. Can you imagine? This man of God crying out day after day, and nothing. The enemy whispered the same lie to him. Your prayers don't matter. God's not listening. But then the angel appeared. And what did he say? Do not be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them. Your words were heard. From day one, the delay wasn't God ignoring you. It was angelic warfare being fought over your breakthrough. Right now, some of you are sitting there thinking about your prodigal child. 20 years you've been praying. 20 years of whispered pleas at dinner tables while they were absent. 20 years of tears soaking your pillowcase as you interceded for a heart that seemed stone cold toward God. What if I told you those whispers have been building something in the spirit realm? What if those tears have been watering seeds of salvation that are about to bloom in ways you never imagined? Psalm 56:8 declares, You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. Every tear, every whispered prayer, every middle-of-the-night conversation with a God you couldn't see but somehow knew was there, collected, treasured, recorded in heaven's archives. Your grandmother's prayers didn't die when she did. They're still working, still moving, still shaking things in the spirit realm 60 years later. That whispered prayer she breathed over you when you were 5 years old, it's been echoing through eternity. creating protective barriers around your life that you don't even know exist. You think you're too old for your prayers to matter. Abraham was 99 when God heard his prayer for a child. Moses was 80 when his prayers brought plagues upon Egypt. Anna the prophetess was 84 when her prayers over baby Jesus became prophecy that changed the world. Your age doesn't diminish your prayer life, it deepens it. Every year you've walked with God, every season you've endured, every storm you've weathered has added weight to your words. When you pray now, you're not just speaking, you're interceding with the authority of someone who has seen God's faithfulness through decades of testing. But here's the mystery that will shatter everything you thought you knew about prayer. Your whisper today may have prevented a car accident 3 states away. Your intercession this morning may have stopped a suicide attempt in Seattle. Your prayer over your neighbor may have broken a generational curse that's been strangling their family for 40 years. You pray and think nothing happened, but in the spirit realm, chains are breaking, demons are fleeing, angels are moving, hearts are softening, doors are opening, lives are being saved, destinies are being rewritten. Your whisper shook eternity, beloved, and eternity is still trembling from the aftershock. The enemy wants you to stop whispering because he knows something you've forgotten. One person in agreement with God is a majority. When you whisper his name in that midnight hour, when you breathe his promises over impossible situations, when you intercede for people who don't even know they need prayer, you become heaven's secret weapon on earth. Your prayers aren't bouncing off the ceiling, they're breaking through it. They're not falling on deaf ears. They're creating symphonies in the throne room. They're not too late, too small, or too simple. They're perfectly timed, precisely aimed, and supernaturally charged with the power to change everything. If you've felt the weight of this word, if something in your spirit recognizes the truth about your whispered prayers, I need you to declare it right now. Type light. Keep spreading in the comments below. Because your prayers are like light, they don't just illuminate your situation, they spread into darkness you can't even see, bringing hope to hopeless places, bringing breakthrough to impossible circumstances. But this is just the beginning of what God showed me about your hidden influence. Because if your whispered prayers can thunder through heaven, listen to me, chosen one. There's a sound echoing through heaven right now that most believers have never heard. Not the gentle whisper of angels, not the soft hum of harps. It's laughter, deep, thunderous, earth-shaking laughter that makes demons cover their ears and flee in terror. But here's what's breaking my heart tonight. You've been taught that when God looks at you, he's frowning, that he's disappointed, that he's keeping track of every mistake, every stumble, every moment you've fallen short. The enemy has convinced you that heaven is silent about your life because you're not worthy of celebration. That's a lie straight from the pit of hell. Psalm 2-4 declares with explosive power, "The one enthroned in heaven laughs," but this isn't the laughter of mockery. This isn't God pointing his finger at your failures and chuckling at your weakness. This is the laughter of absolute victory, the laughter that erupts when the outcome is so certain, so inevitable, that defeat isn't even a possibility. Picture this with me. Heaven's courtroom is packed. The accuser stands before the throne, his briefcase overflowing with evidence against you. Every sin, every doubt, every moment you wanted to quit. He's building his case, demanding justice, insisting you're too broken to be used by the Almighty. But then something happens that silences the entire courtroom. God leans forward on his throne. His eyes lock on the prosecutor, and he begins to laugh. Not a chuckle, not a smile, laughter that shakes the foundations of eternity itself. Because while Satan was collecting evidence of your failures, God was recording evidence of your faithfulness. While hell was documenting your mistakes, heaven was celebrating your hidden acts of obedience. That prayer you whispered this morning when despair was crushing your chest, God laughed. That moment you forgave when bitterness felt justified, thunder of joy. That choice to keep believing when your circumstances screamed otherwise. The laughter of the Almighty echoed through every corner of glory. You want to know why demons flee when God laughs? Because his laughter is not casual entertainment. It's a judicial decree. It's heaven's official verdict over your life. This one is mine. This one cannot be touched. This one will not be moved. Think about this. When Jesus walked on water, what do you think happened in hell? Panic. When he fed 5,000 with a boy's lunch, terror. When he raised Lazarus from a 4-day grave, the sound of God's laughter must have sent shockwaves through every demonic stronghold. And today, when you chose obedience in that hidden moment, the same laughter erupted. Not because your act was perfect, but because it proved something hell desperately wanted to deny. You belong to the kingdom of light, and darkness has no claim on you. But here's where it gets personal. Here's where this truth needs to penetrate the deepest chambers of your heart. You've been living under a cloud of condemnation, haven't you? Believing that God tolerates you rather than delights in you. Thinking that heaven sees you as a problem to solve rather than a victory to celebrate. Stop believing that lie. God's laughter over you isn't future tense, it's happening right now. While you're listening to these words, while you're questioning whether you matter, heaven is erupting in celebration because his chosen one is still standing, still believing, still choosing him, despite every attack designed to destroy your faith. His laughter is not just expression, it's protection. Psalm 64:7-8 tells us that God will shoot his arrows at his enemies suddenly, and they will make him laugh. When the enemy aims his weapons at you, God doesn't just defend, he laughs. Because every scheme against you only proves how threatened darkness is by your light. That financial pressure trying to crush you, God laughs because he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. That health scare meant to terrify you, heaven erupts with joy because by his stripes you are healed. That relationship betrayal designed to isolate you, the Father's laughter declares you are never alone because he will never leave nor forsake you. You think your battles are evidence that God has forgotten you, but heaven sees every attack as proof of how valuable you are to the kingdom. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on empty targets. He doesn't deploy his strongest demons against powerless people. The intensity of warfare in your life is actually evidence of the authority you carry. And God's laughter, it's his way of letting Satan know the battle is already won. It's heaven's victory anthem playing over your life before you even see the breakthrough. It's the sound of divine confidence that what he started in you, he will complete. Right now, I need you to align your heart with heaven's celebration. The courtroom has rendered its verdict. The evidence has been examined. The laughter of God has declared you victorious, and I want you to participate in this cosmic celebration. Type 444-inch, the comments below. This isn't superstition, it's spiritual alignment. 4 represents divine stability and order. When you write 444, you're declaring that you stand firm on heaven's verdict over your life. You're agreeing with God's laughter instead of the enemy's lies. But here's the question that will determine everything. Will you let heaven's laughter become the soundtrack of your life, or will you keep listening to hell's accusations? Because, chosen one, the laughter you're hearing isn't just about today, it's about every tomorrow God has already secured for you. Listen to me carefully. Chosen one, right now, as you're hearing my voice, there's something happening in the unseen realm that will shake you to your core. Angels are writing, not with ink that fades, not with pencils that can be erased, but with eternal light that burns brighter than the sun itself. Your name is being inscribed in heaven's permanent records. You think today was just another ordinary Tuesday. You think that moment when you chose obedience over convenience was just another decision. Dear friend, you have no idea what you've just triggered in the courts of eternity. Malachi 3:16 reveals this stunning truth. Then those who feared the Lord talked with each other, and the Lord listened and heard. A scroll of remembrance was written in his presence concerning those who feared the Lord and honored his name. A scroll of remembrance, not a temporary file, not a digital record that can be deleted. A scroll written in the very presence of Almighty God, sealed with the authority of heaven itself. But here's what will blow your mind. While you were wrestling with that temptation today, while you were choosing to forgive when bitterness felt easier, while you whispered that prayer through tears, there was a cosmic courtroom drama unfolding that you couldn't see. Picture this. The accuser of the brethren storms before the throne, his voice dripping with venom. "Look at this one," he snarls, pointing his crooked finger at you. "They stumbled yesterday. They doubted last week. They're weak, broken, unworthy." The courtroom falls silent. But then an angel stands, tall, radiant, holding a scroll that gleams with supernatural fire, and in a voice that thunders through heaven's halls he reads, "Yes, they stumbled. Yet they rose and prayed. Yes, they doubted. Yet they chose faith over fear. Yes, they felt weak. Yet they resisted temptation when no one was watching. Yes, they are human. Yet they honored the name of the Lord." Satan's accusations crumble like dust in a hurricane. Your record isn't just about your victories, beloved. It's about your choices in the darkness. It's about the moments when hell threw everything at you, and you still whispered, "Yes, Lord." Every tear you've shed in secret worship, every time you've chosen love over revenge, every prayer you've breathed when your faith felt paper thin, all of it, written down, sealed forever. The enemy wants you to believe your failures define you. He wants you to think your past mistakes have disqualified you from heaven's favor. But here's the truth that will set your soul on fire. Your record in heaven isn't a list of your perfections. It's a testimony of God's grace working through your imperfections. You've been walking around carrying shame like a heavy coat, haven't you? Believing that somehow your struggles make you less valuable to God. But listen to what the angel wrote about you today. In the face of overwhelming darkness, they chose light. When the world offered shortcuts, they chose the narrow path. When their heart wanted to quit, they kept believing. That's not the record of someone who's failing. That's the record of someone who's fighting. Someone who refuses to bow. Someone whose very existence is a threat to the kingdom of darkness. Do you understand what this means? Every morning you wake up and choose to trust God despite your circumstances. You're not just surviving another day. You're adding another line to an eternal testimony that will echo through the ages. Your children's children will read this record. Generations you'll never meet will be inspired by what was written about you today. The angels themselves marvel at the scroll bearing your name because it tells a story of human frailty transformed by divine strength. But here's the urgent truth that should grip your heart right now. This record is being written whether you realize it or not. The question isn't whether heaven is watching. The question is, what story are you giving them to write? You have the power to add another golden line to your scroll today. Another victory, another moment of obedience, another choice that makes Satan's accusations sound like the pathetic whimpers of a defeated enemy. Your name is not erased from heaven's books, dear one. It is etched with fire, sealed with blood, protected by the very signature of Jesus Christ himself. No storm can wash it away. No failure can delete it. No accusation can remove it. If you can receive this truth, if you can feel the weight of heaven's permanent record over your life, then type, "I receive it" right now. This isn't just a comment. This is your prophetic agreement with what heaven has already written. This is you declaring that you accept your place in God's eternal story. The scroll is still open, chosen one. The angel's pen is still moving. And what happens next in your record depends on what you choose to do with this moment of divine revelation. Chosen one, do you see what's happening right now? While you've been sitting there thinking today was just another ordinary Tuesday, heaven has been forging something magnificent, something eternal, something that will outlast every earthly crown, every presidential medal, every Olympic gold ever won in human history. Your crown is being crafted. Right now, this very moment, not some distant reward waiting in the clouds, not some vague promise for the afterlife. Your eternal crown is being shaped by the hammer blows of your daily obedience, polished by the tears you've shed in secret, adorned with the jewels of every time you said yes to God, when everything in you wanted to say number. The Apostle Paul saw this reality when he penned these words in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing. Listen carefully, beloved. That crown isn't locked away in some heavenly vault. It's being woven together thread by thread through your faithfulness. Every prayer you whispered today when doubt screamed louder that became golden thread. Every moment you resisted that temptation, pressing against your conscience that became a precious stone. Every act of kindness when bitterness would have been easier, that became another jewel set in your eternal inheritance. You thought you were just getting through another day. Heaven saw you constructing a masterpiece. But here's what will blow your mind. That scar on your heart from the betrayal 5 years ago, it just became the most brilliant diamond in your crown. That tear you cried last night when you felt forgotten, it crystallized into a sapphire that reflects God's faithfulness. That moment today when you chose forgiveness over revenge, angels just wove pure gold into the very foundation of your eternal headpiece. Every broken dream you surrendered to God became raw material for royalty. Every "Why me, Lord?" that turned into "Nevertheless, your will be done" became another layer of glory. Every time you got back up when life knocked you down, heaven took note and added another ornament of honor. You've been walking around thinking you're broken, damaged, too old to matter. But God has been seeing a king in the making, a queen being crowned through fire, a warrior earning their stripes, not in some distant battle, but in the warfare of choosing faith over fear every single day. Think about this right now. In this very moment, there's a crown in heaven's workshop with your name etched in letters of fire. And every craftsman angel working on it is marveling at the beauty of what your life has created. They're saying, "Look what this chosen one built through their faithfulness. Look at the glory forged from their pain. Look at the radiance that emerged from their resistance." But here's the explosion moment that should rock you to your core. You thought today was ordinary. Heaven crowned it extraordinary. That simple. "Good morning, Lord," you mumbled through tired lips. It just added another golden band to your crown. That moment you held back harsh words when your patience was shredded. Another precious stone was set. That split second when you chose to trust God's plan instead of your own panic, the angels just polished another facet of your eternal inheritance until it blazed with supernatural light. You've been measuring your worth by the world's broken scales, your bank account, your achievements, your age, your limitations. But heaven measures your worth by the weight of your crown. And beloved, your crown is so heavy with glory that it would crush an ordinary person. Good thing you're not ordinary. You're chosen. Every senior citizen who thinks their best days are behind them needs to hear this. God doesn't retire his royalty. He crowns them. Your wrinkles are wisdom marks. Your scars are victory medals. Your years aren't a countdown. They're a count-up of accumulated authority and divine favor that younger generations can only dream of possessing. The enemy has been lying to you, telling you it's too late. You're too old. You've missed your moment. But crowns aren't awarded for youth. They're awarded for faithfulness. And you, chosen one, have been faithful when it counted, in the moments when no one else was watching except heaven. So, here's what I need you to do right now. If you can feel that crown settling on your head, if you can sense the weight of heaven's approval resting on your shoulders, type boldly in the comments, "I walk in victory." Don't whisper it. Declare it. Let hell hear it and tremble. And don't keep this revelation to yourself. Share this message and ignite another chosen one who's forgotten their royal identity. Every share is a seed that multiplies the harvest of awakening across this nation. Every click spreads the fire of recognition that God's people are not servants cowering in the shadows. They are kings and queens walking in the authority of their eternal inheritance. Your crown awaits, chosen one. It's time to wear it. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. There's something the enemy has been hiding from you, something that will shatter every lie he's whispered about your struggles. You've been asking the wrong question. You've been wondering, God, why is my life so hard? Why does everything feel like an uphill battle while others seem to coast through life? But here's the shocking truth that will change everything. Your life isn't hard because you're cursed. Your life is hard because you're chosen. Hell doesn't waste ammunition on empty targets. Satan doesn't deploy his finest demons against powerless people. The kingdom of darkness doesn't orchestrate elaborate schemes to destroy ordinary lives. But you've been in his crosshairs since the day you drew your first breath. Think about it. Why do you think the attacks on your family have been so relentless? Why have your finances been under constant assault? Why does it feel like every time you take 2 steps forward, something tries to knock you 3 steps back? Because the enemy sees what God placed inside you before you even knew it existed. He saw your future influence and tried to isolate you. He saw your coming breakthrough and tried to break you first. He saw the souls you would save and attempted to silence you with shame. Every betrayal, every setback, every moment you wanted to quit, that wasn't random suffering. That was strategic warfare against your destiny. The devil has been studying you like a general studies his most dangerous opponent. He knows your weaknesses, your triggers, your patterns. He waits for 3 a.m. when your defenses are down. He strikes when you're exhausted, when your faith feels paper thin, when hope seems like a cruel joke. But today, today his carefully laid plans crumbled into dust. Picture this in your mind's eye. In the shadowy councils of hell, demons gathered around their war table. Your name was written on their strategy board. Today was supposed to be the day you finally broke. The temptation was perfectly timed. The pressure was precisely calibrated. The lie was custom crafted to match your deepest insecurity. Satan himself leaned forward, expecting his victory. The demonic realm held its breath, waiting for you to stumble, to curse, to give up, to bow down to their agenda. But then you did something that sent shockwaves through the kingdom of darkness. You resisted, not with fanfare, not with thunder and lightning. You simply said no. You chose righteousness when rebellion would have been easier. You whispered a prayer when your throat was tight with pain. You extended forgiveness when your heart was hemorrhaging hurt. And in that moment, that split second of defiance against darkness, hell's entire strategy collapsed. The scripture declares with thunderous authority in James 4-7, "Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." Did you catch that word? Flee, not negotiate, not retreat slowly. Flee like a coward running from battle. Today, when you chose obedience over compromise, Satan didn't just lose ground. He fled. His demons scattered like roaches when the lights come on. His schemes unraveled like cheap fabric. His whispers turned to screams of frustration because you proved something that terrifies him to his core. You cannot be bought, broken, or bowed. The enemy is furious tonight because you refuse to give him the satisfaction of watching you fall. He's been whispering the same lies for decades. You're not strong enough. You're not holy enough. You're not worthy enough. But your resistance today was your response. I don't need to be enough. My God is more than enough. Do you understand what this means? Every time you resist temptation, you're not just protecting yourself, you're humiliating hell. Every time you choose faith over fear, you're not just growing spiritually, you're growing dangerous to the enemy's agenda. Every time you stand when everything in you wants to fall, you're proving that greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. The devil thought he had you mapped out, figured out, locked down. But God has been preparing you in ways that confuse hell's intelligence network. Your scars have become your strength. Your wounds have become your weapons. Your brokenness has become your breakthrough point. Right now, in the unseen realm, there's chaos in the enemy's camp. Demons are asking each other, how did they resist? The trap was perfect. The timing was flawless. The pressure was overwhelming. But they can't understand the mystery of divine grace. They can't comprehend the power of a heart surrendered to God. Satan is frustrated because every scheme he's used against others has failed against you. The addiction that destroyed your father couldn't claim you. The depression that consumed your mother couldn't drown you. The poverty that plagued your bloodline couldn't define you. You are the anomaly in hell's equation, the variable that doesn't compute in darkness's calculations. But while hell rages in frustration, heaven erupts in celebration. The angels who watched you struggle are now watching you soar. The Father who saw you stumble is now seeing you stand. The Spirit who carried you through the valley is now crowning you on the mountaintop. God's laughter isn't just joy, it's justice. It's the sound of every demonic prediction being shattered. It's the echo of every hellish scheme being exposed. It's the anthem of victory over every force that tried to claim his child. Tonight, the enemy is pacing in fury because you reminded him of a truth he desperately wants to forget. You don't belong to him. You never did. You never will. If you feel the fire of this truth burning in your chest right now, if you sense the enemy's frustration and heaven's celebration over your life, then declare it boldly in the comments. Type with holy defiance, "I frustrate hell," because, chosen one, when you frustrate the enemy, you fascinate heaven. And that's exactly where your story takes its most powerful turn. Dear chosen one, right now, this very moment, while you're sitting there questioning whether your life matters, whether your struggles have purpose, whether God even sees your daily battles, there is something magnificent happening in the unseen realm that will shatter every doubt you've ever carried. Heaven has a workshop, and in that workshop, master craftsmen, angels whose hands have never known failure, are forging something so breathtakingly beautiful that it makes earthly crowns look like children's toys. They're forging your crown, not tomorrow, not when you die, right now, today, with every hidden act of obedience you thought no one witnessed. But here's what's going to devastate you. You've been looking at your life all wrong. That betrayal that left you shattered at 65, that wasn't punishment, that was a diamond being cut for your crown. That financial ruin that stripped away everything you thought defined you, that wasn't abandonment, that was pure gold being refined in heaven's furnace. Those sleepless nights you spent caring for your dying spouse while your own heart broke into a million pieces, every tear that fell was liquid gold, being woven into the fabric of your eternal inheritance. You see, beloved, earthly kings wear crowns made of metal that rusts and gems that crack. But the Apostle Paul knew something that will rock your world when he wrote in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 25, "Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever." Forever. Chosen one. Your crown isn't temporary, it's eternal, incorruptible, unbreakable. But here's the shocking truth that most believers never grasp. Your crown isn't waiting for you in some distant heavenly warehouse. It's being forged right here, right now, in the fire of your daily choices. Every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, when your heart screamed for revenge, another precious stone was set in place. Every moment you held your tongue when gossip would have felt so satisfying, golden threads were being woven through your eternal diadem. That moment last Tuesday when you helped your difficult neighbor despite how they treated you, heaven's craftsmen paused their work to smile as they placed another jewel in your crown. That prayer you whispered at 3 in the morning when depression whispered lies about your worth. Angels rejoiced as they polished another facet of your eternal glory. You thought you were just surviving. God was shaping your sovereignty. Listen to me carefully. Every scar on your heart from loving people who couldn't love you back has become a ruby of compassion in your crown. Every financial loss you endured while trusting God's provision has become a sapphire of unwavering faith. Every moment you chose hope when despair felt more logical has become an emerald of supernatural endurance. But wait, there's more that will leave you breathless. Remember when you lost that job at 58 and thought your life was over? Heaven's forgers were heating the furnace hotter because they knew the gold of your character needed deeper refining. Remember when your children turned their backs on you after everything you sacrificed? The master jeweler was carefully placing the most precious stone, the diamond of unconditional love, that could only be formed under the crushing pressure of rejection. You thought you were being broken. You were being built into royalty. The Bible declares that gold is refined in fire. And beloved, your life has been one holy furnace after another. But fire doesn't destroy gold, it purifies it. Fire doesn't weaken precious metals, it strengthens them. And the blazing trials you've walked through haven't diminished your worth. They've increased your eternal value beyond measure. Right now, as I speak these words, can you feel it? That's stirring in your chest. That's not your imagination, that's your spirit recognizing the weight of glory that's already resting on your head. You are wearing tomorrow's crown today, in the secret acts of kindness you thought no one saw, in the forgiveness you granted when justice demanded payment, in the faith you maintained when circumstances screamed God had forgotten you. Every single day you wake up and choose righteousness over convenience, another thread of gold is added to your crown. Every night you fall asleep, having walked in integrity when compromise would have been easier, another gem catches heaven's light and reflects it back to the throne of God. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul right now. This forging process won't last forever. Your time on earth is limited, and every day that passes is another opportunity to add glory to your eternal inheritance, or to settle for less than what God intended. The crown being shaped for you isn't just about reward, it's about responsibility. When you stand before the King of Kings, that crown will be your testimony. Every jewel will tell a story of faithfulness. Every golden thread will whisper of moments when you chose His will over your own. And here's what will bring you to your knees. One day, you'll take that crown, that masterpiece forged from your tears, your trials, your triumphs, and you'll lay it at the feet of Jesus. Not because it's required, but because you'll finally understand that every beautiful thing about your crown came from His grace working through your surrendered heart. If you can feel the weight of eternity settling on your shoulders right now, if something deep in your spirit is confirming that your struggles have been shaping something magnificent, then declare it boldly in the comments. My crown is being forged. Because, beloved, heaven's workshop never sleeps, and your crown grows more beautiful with every breath of faithful obedience you take. Chosen one, you've been lied to about the size of your impact. They told you that at 70, 80, 90 years old, your influence has shrunk to the size of your living room. They whispered that your words don't carry weight anymore, that your prayers are just echoes bouncing off empty walls. But what if I told you that what you did today, that tiny act of obedience you thought no one noticed, just created a ripple that will crash into eternity itself? Picture this with me. You're standing at the edge of a pristine mountain lake at dawn. The water is glass smooth, reflecting the morning sky like a mirror. You pick up one small stone, not a boulder, not a rock, just a simple pebble that fits in your weathered palm. You cast it gently into that still water. What happens next defies every lie the enemy ever whispered about your irrelevance. That stone disappears beneath the surface in absolute silence, but then the ripples begin. First one circle, then another, then another. Each ring grows wider, more powerful, more unstoppable. They spread beyond your sight, beyond your ability to track them, beyond your imagination to contain them. Dear one, that stone is your prayer this morning. That stone is your choice to forgive when bitterness would have been easier. That stone is your decision to speak life over your prodigal grandson instead of condemnation. That stone is you turning off that television program when it started mocking the things of God. You thought it was small. Heaven saw it as seismic. Right now, right this very second, your ripple is moving through dimensions you can't see. It's touching the heart of a veteran in San Antonio who was planning to end his life tonight, but suddenly feels an unexplainable peace wash over his tortured soul. It's reaching the spirit of your great-granddaughter, who won't be born for another 15 years, but who will inherit a blessing instead of a curse because of what you chose today. Jesus spoke this mystery in Matthew 5:16. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. But listen carefully, he didn't say your light would shine just for others. He said it would shine before others, meaning it arrives ahead of you, preparing hearts you'll never meet, opening doors you'll never walk through, planting seeds in soil you'll never see. Your whispered prayer in your bedroom at 5:47 this morning just prevented a car accident 3 states away. Your decision to bite your tongue instead of speaking harsh words to your daughter just broke a generational pattern of anger that was about to destroy your grandson's marriage. Your choice to drop $5 in the offering plate when you only had 20 left just triggered a chain of provision that will feed a family in Mississippi for a week. Stop looking at the size of the stone. Start marveling at the power of the ripple. But here's where it gets dangerous for your peace of mind. Here's where the enemy wants to steal this revelation before it takes root in your spirit. You're sitting there thinking, but I'm just one old person. My voice shakes, my hands tremble, my memory isn't what it used to be. Listen to me with the desperation of someone whose eternity depends on hearing this truth. Your ripple doesn't depend on your strength. It depends on God's faithfulness to multiply what you release in faith. Mother Teresa understood this when she said, "We cannot do great things on this earth, only small things with great love." But what she knew, what heaven wants you to grasp today, is that small things done with great love become great things in God's hands. They become tsunamis of transformation that reshape coastlines of destiny. That phone call you made to check on your neighbor, your ripple just touched her estranged son in Chicago, and he's about to call home for the first time in 3 years. That moment, you chose to smile at the rude cashier instead of snapping back. Your ripple just broke through the hardness around her heart, and she's going to go home tonight and hug her children instead of screaming at them. The amplification is beyond mathematics. It's beyond logic. It's supernatural multiplication that makes 5 loaves feed 5,000 look like child's play. But beloved, here's the urgency that should grip your soul like a vice. Every day you remain silent. Every moment you choose smallness over significance. Every time you convince yourself that your ripple doesn't matter, you're not just robbing yourself of purpose, you're robbing generations of breakthrough. That grandson struggling with addiction, he needs to feel the ripple of your prayers crashing into his darkness. That neighbor battling cancer, she needs the ripple of your faith to strengthen her immune system in ways doctors can't explain. That stranger you'll pass at the grocery store tomorrow, they need the ripple of your smile to remind them that God still cares about forgotten people. Your ripple is already spreading across eternity. It started the moment you were conceived in your mother's womb, and it will continue long after your final breath on this earth. The question isn't whether you have influence. The question is what kind of ripple you're creating. Jesus didn't whisper the Great Commission. He didn't suggest it as a nice idea for young people with energy and platforms. He commanded it to ordinary people like you, fishermen with calloused hands, tax collectors with questionable pasts, women with broken histories. He looked at their ordinariness and saw extraordinary potential for ripples that would reshape the world. Your obedience today just created a ripple that will be crashing into distant shores when your great-great-grandchildren are walking this earth. Your faithfulness in secret just released a wave that will strengthen believers in countries you'll never visit, in languages you'll never speak, in circumstances you'll never face. If you can feel that ripple starting to move, if you can sense the sacred responsibility of your influence, then declare it boldly in the comments below. Type these 3 powerful words. Light keeps spreading, not as wishful thinking, as prophetic declaration, as your agreement with what heaven is already accomplishing through your life. Because, dear one, your ripple doesn't end when this video ends. It doesn't stop when you close your eyes tonight. Your ripple is eternal, unstoppable, and more powerful than every lie the enemy ever whispered about your diminishing significance. And what's about to happen next will prove that your ripple isn't just spreading, it's about to become a tidal wave that changes everything. Your ripple has already proven something that hell desperately wants to hide from you. But now, chosen one, it's time for the final verdict. Time for heaven's supreme court to render its eternal judgment over your life. Can you hear it? That thunderous sound echoing through the corridors of eternity. It's not thunder from a storm. It's not the rumbling of distant earthquakes. It's the sound of heaven's gavel slamming down with divine finality, and the verdict being pronounced over your destiny will shatter every lie the enemy ever whispered about your defeat. Listen to me carefully, dear one. There's a courtroom in the spiritual realm where your case has been on trial your entire life. The accuser has been presenting his evidence every failure, every moment of weakness, every time you stumbled in the dark. He's been building his case that you're finished, that you're broken beyond repair, that you should just give up and fade away quietly. But today, this very day, when you chose obedience in that small moment, when you whispered that prayer, when you resisted that temptation, you just provided heaven with the final piece of evidence it needed to close the case forever. The gavel has fallen, the verdict is in, and what heaven has declared over you cannot be appealed, cannot be overturned, cannot be challenged by any power in hell or on earth. You want to know what that verdict says? Isaiah 54:17 proclaims it with the full authority of the Almighty. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and this is their vindication from me. No weapon, not some weapons, not most weapons. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. That's not a suggestion, that's not a hope. That's heaven's legal decree, stamped with the blood of Jesus Christ. But I know what you're thinking right now. I can see the doubt creeping into your weathered eyes. If I'm so unstoppable, why have I been through so much hell? Why did my marriage crumble after 43 years? Why did I lose my home in 2008? Why did cancer ravage my body? Why do my own children treat me like I'm invisible? Those aren't evidence of defeat, beloved. Those are evidence of your invincibility. Let me take you back through your testimony, dear one. Remember that night in 1987 when the doctor said the words that stopped your heart? It's malignant. Remember how you felt the ground give way beneath your feet, how you thought that was your death sentence. But look at you now. You didn't just survive, you thrived. You fought through chemotherapy that would have killed weaker souls. You endured treatments that brought you to the edge of surrender, yet something inside you refused to quit. That wasn't human stubbornness. That was divine DNA asserting itself. Remember the financial collapse that wiped out your retirement savings overnight. Remember sitting at your kitchen table at 2 a.m., staring at foreclosure notices, wondering how you'd survive another month. The enemy whispered, "This is it. You're finished." But what happened? Doors opened you never knocked on. Provision came from sources you never imagined. Help arrived from people you'd never met. You thought you were just lucky. Heaven knows you were protected. Remember when your spouse of 5 decades took their final breath and you felt like half of your soul was ripped away? Remember the unbearable silence of that empty house, the side of the bed that would never be warm again, the voice you'd never hear calling your name. The enemy screamed, "You're alone now. You're forgotten." But what did you do? You got up the next morning. You found reasons to keep breathing. You discovered strength you didn't know you possessed. You thought you were just surviving. God knew you were being prepared for something greater. Every single attack that should have destroyed you became evidence that you carry something indestructible. Every storm that should have drowned you proved that you know how to walk on water. Every fire that should have consumed you demonstrated that you're made of the same material as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The enemy keeps trying to write your obituary, but heaven keeps raising you from every grave he digs for you. You thought you were finished when your business collapsed, yet here you are. You thought you were done when depression wrapped its black tentacles around your mind, yet here you are. You thought you were defeated when your children walked away, when friends betrayed you, when your body betrayed you, yet here you are, still breathing, still believing, still fighting, still praying, still choosing God when the world gives you every reason to choose bitterness. That's not coincidence, beloved. That's the verdict of heaven being enforced by angelic armies who refuse to let you fall. But here's what will absolutely blow your mind. Here's the truth that will make hell tremble and heaven rejoice. You haven't just survived all those attacks. You've been strengthened by them. Every weapon that failed to destroy you made you more dangerous to darkness. Every assault that couldn't break you built unshakable faith. Every storm that couldn't drown you taught you how to command winds and waves. You're not just a survivor. You're a weapon of mass destruction against the kingdom of darkness. The verdict heaven just pronounced isn't based on your track record. It's based on whose blood was shed to secure your destiny. When Jesus died on that cross, he didn't just pay for your sins. He purchased your invincibility. He bought your unstoppable nature with his own life. And that purchase cannot be refunded, cannot be recalled, cannot be nullified by any circumstance in your life. The gavel has fallen. The verdict is final. The case is closed. You are unstoppable not because you're strong, but because the one who lives inside you cannot be stopped. You are unbreakable not because you're perfect, but because you're covered by unbreakable promises. You are invincible not because you never fall, but because you always rise. Every morning you wake up is God's way of saying, the verdict stands, you are unstoppable. Every breath you take is heaven's declaration that your assignment isn't finished. Every heartbeat is the rhythm of divine purpose that refuses to be silenced. The enemy thought that financial crisis would stop you. Verdict overruled. He thought that health scare would finish you. Verdict overruled. He thought that betrayal would break you. Verdict overruled. Heaven's final word over your life isn't maybe, it isn't hopefully, it isn't if you're good enough. Heaven's final word is this: unstoppable, unbreakable, undefeated, unconquerable. And that verdict is sealed with the blood of the Lamb. If you can feel that truth settling into your bones right now, if something in your spirit is standing at attention because it recognizes the sound of heaven's gavel, then declare it with the authority of someone who just won the ultimate legal battle. Write it in the comments now, not as wishful thinking, as a verdict received, as a decree acknowledged, as truth declared. I am unstoppable, because, beloved, when heaven pronounces a verdict over your life, every demon in hell has to respect it, every circumstance has to bow to it, and every weapon formed against you has to surrender to it. The case is closed, the verdict is in, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can overturn what God has already settled about your destiny. But now that the verdict is final, there's something even more powerful waiting to be revealed about what this unstoppable life is actually designed to accomplish. Chosen one, what if I told you that what felt like just another Tuesday was actually your final exam? What if that moment when you thought nobody was watching, not your children, not your neighbors, not even God, was the very moment heaven leaned forward to grade your paper? You've been walking through life thinking your tests were over. High school graduation, driver's license, maybe professional certifications, all behind you now. But dear one, God's classroom never closes. His examinations don't come with study guides or warning bells. They arrive disguised as ordinary moments when your character is the only textbook that matters. Today, you faced a test you didn't even recognize. It wasn't announced with thunderclaps or written on stone tablets. It came wrapped in the mundane, a phone call that irritated you, a financial pressure that squeezed your faith, a family situation that tested your patience. In that split second when you chose obedience over anger, faith over fear, love over bitterness, you didn't just make a choice. You passed an examination that was being graded in the courts of eternity. But here's the shocking truth that will rewrite everything you believe about your struggles. That test wasn't designed to break you down. It was designed to lift up your bloodline. In Exodus 20:6, God declares something that should make your soul tremble with anticipation. But showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments, 1,000 generations. That's not just your children or grandchildren. That's bloodline extending 25,000 years into the future, all protected by the choice you made in your kitchen this morning. You thought you were just controlling your temper with your daughter-in-law. Heaven saw you breaking a generational curse of harsh words that was about to poison your great-grandson's marriage in 2045. You thought you were just choosing to tithe when the bills were stacking up. God saw you activating a financial blessing that will open doors for descendants whose names you'll never know. Every test you pass in secret becomes a shield over futures you'll never see. Think about Abraham for a moment. When God tested him on Mount Moriah, asking him to sacrifice Isaac, Abraham didn't know he was taking an exam that would protect every believer who would ever live. He thought he was just obeying in that terrifying moment, but his yes on that mountain became a covering over you, sitting here today, 3,000 years later. Your obedience today is writing protection over bloodlines that won't exist for generations. That moment when you chose forgiveness instead of revenge, you just prevented your great-great-granddaughter from inheriting a spirit of bitterness. That decision to speak life instead of death over your struggling son, you just broke an addiction cycle that was targeting your family tree for the next century. But beloved, here's where the enemy wants to steal this revelation. He's been whispering that your private battles don't matter because nobody sees them, that your hidden victories are meaningless because there's no applause, no recognition, no medal ceremony. That's the biggest lie from the pit of hell. Heaven doesn't just see your private victories, heaven grades them. And when you pass, the grade doesn't just go on your report card, it goes on your bloodline's permanent record. Every time you resist temptation in the hidden place, you're not just protecting your own integrity, you're installing spiritual firewalls in your descendants' DNA. Every prayer you whisper through tears is laying foundation stones for churches your great-grandchildren will build. Every act of kindness when nobody's watching is planting seeds of compassion that will bloom in hearts not yet conceived. This is why your test today mattered more than you realized. This is why hell fought so hard to make you fail. Because the enemy knew that your obedience wouldn't just impact you, it would impact bloodlines, communities, nations, and generations stretching into eternity. You passed, chosen one. You may not have felt victorious in the moment. You may have felt weak, uncertain, even defeated. But heaven's grading system doesn't measure feelings, it measures faithfulness. And today, you were faithful when it cost you something. You were obedient when it wasn't convenient. You were righteous when nobody would have blamed you for being wrong. Your yes to God today will echo into your bloodline as supernatural protection for 1,000 generations. If you can feel the weight of that responsibility, if you understand that your private victories create public breakthroughs for people you'll never meet, then declare it boldly. Write these 4 powerful words in the comments. I passed the test. Because, beloved, when heaven grades your life, the results aren't just personal, they're generational. And what you're about to discover next will prove that your highest scores are still being recorded. Chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred journey together, I need you to carry 3 eternal truths with you, like precious gems in your heart. First, remember this. Your obedience today, no matter how small it seemed to you, created ripples that are still spreading across eternity. Heaven pressed pause to watch you choose righteousness in the hidden place, and God's laughter of victory is still echoing because of your faithfulness. Second, never forget that you passed a test today you didn't even know you were taking. That moment of choosing faith over fear, love over bitterness, trust over doubt, it wasn't just personal growth. It was generational breakthrough. Your yes to God today just activated protection and blessing for 1,000 generations of your bloodline. And third, understand that you are not a forgotten relic gathering dust in life's corner. You are a living weapon in God's hands, a chosen vessel carrying light in the darkness, a voice that heaven strains to hear because your prayers carry the authority of decades walking with the Almighty. But more than anything, I need you to know this. You are not walking this path alone, even when your children don't call, when your friends have moved away, when the silence in your house feels deafening. The God who chose you before time began is still working behind the scenes of your life. He's still moving mountains you can't see, opening doors you haven't found yet, and orchestrating blessings you can't even imagine. And right here, in this digital sanctuary we've created together, you have thousands of brothers and sisters who understand your journey. We see your faithfulness. We celebrate your victories. We stand ready to lift you in prayer when the battles feel too heavy to fight alone. Let me ask you this final question, and let it settle deep in your spirit. Now that you know heaven is still laughing in victory because of you, now that you understand your smallest acts of obedience are reshaping eternity, how will you walk tomorrow morning when you wake up? Before I release you into your destiny, I want to place my hand on your shoulder through these words and pray over you with the authority of someone who has witnessed God's faithfulness through every season. Father, I lift up every precious soul who has stayed with us through this entire message. Lord, you see them sitting there, some with tears in their eyes, others with fire in their hearts, all of them carrying burdens they never asked for and dreams they thought had died. But you see more than their struggles. You see their faithfulness. You see their unshakable resolve to keep believing when belief costs them everything. God, I pray that you would breathe fresh wind into their weary souls right now. Where they feel forgotten, remind them they are treasured. Where they feel weak, pour out your strength. Where they feel alone, surround them with your presence so thick they can almost touch it. Let them feel you smiling over them, laughing in victory because of who they are and who they're becoming. Father, open doors that no human hand can shut. Provide for needs they haven't even spoken out loud. Heal bodies that medical science has given up on. Restore relationships that seem beyond repair. Breathe life into dreams that feel dead and buried. Show them that their best chapters aren't behind them, they're ahead of them. And Lord, let every person watching this know in their bones that they are not accidents of biology or victims of circumstance. They are your chosen ones, marked before time began, sustained through every storm, and destined for victory that will echo through eternity. In Jesus' mighty name, I seal this prayer and this promise over their lives. Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us what God spoke to your heart today. Share how this message shifted something in your spirit. Ask us to pray for specific areas of your life. We're not just viewers on a screen, we're family, and family prays for each other. If this word set something on fire in your soul, please share it with someone who needs to hear that their hidden obedience matters, that their secret faithfulness is seen, and that heaven is still laughing in victory because of who they are. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You're not just subscribing to a channel, you're connecting with a community of chosen ones who refuse to believe their best days are behind them. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart, for letting these words penetrate the sacred chambers of your soul, for being brave enough to believe that maybe, just maybe, you're more significant than you ever dared to imagine. Until we meet again, walk in the knowledge that heaven is still laughing in victory because of you. You are chosen. You are loved. You are never, ever alone. Go in peace, chosen one. Your ripples are still spreading, and your story is far from over.